Good morning, everyone. I am ELIEMER Bucalon, a BSED English 2A, and now I'm going to discuss the postmodernism and modern culture in a worldwide view. According to Miguel Suzuki, postmodernism was a reaction to modernism. Where modernism was about objectivity, postmodernism was about subjectivity. Where modernism sought a singular truth, postmodernism sought the multiplicity of the truths. Postmodernism is a term current inside and outside the academic study of popular culture. It has entered discourses as different as pop music, journalism, and Marxist debates on the cultural condition of late or multinational capitalism, as Angela McRuby observes. Although the term postmodern had been in a cultural circulation since the 1970s, it is only in the late 1950s and 1960s that we see the beginnings of what is now understood as postmodernism. In the work of Susan Sontag, 1966, and Leslie Fiedler, we encounter the celebration of what Sontag calls a new sensibility. Modernist culture has become bourgeois culture. Its subversive power has been drained by the academy and the museum. It is now the canon against which an avant-garde must struggle. Jameson argues that postmodernism was born out of the shift from oppositional to hegemonic possession of the classic of modernism. The latter's conquest of the university, the museum, the art gallery of network, and the foundation, the assimilation of the various high modernisms into the canon and the subsequent attenuation of everything in them felt by grandparents to be shocking, scandalous, ugly, dissonant, immoral, and antisocial. So Jean-François Lyotard's is a principal contribution to the debate on postmodernism is the postmodern condition. For Lyotard's, the postmodern condition is marked by a crisis in the status of knowledge in Western societies. This is expressed as an incredulity towards meta-narratives and what he calls the obsolescence of the meta-narrative apparatus of legitimation. According to Lyotard's, meta-narratives operate through inclusion and exclusion as homogenizing forces, marshalling heterogeneity into ordered realm, silencing and excluding others' discourses, other voices in the name of the universal principles and general goals. Postmodernism is said to signal the collapse of all meta-narratives with their privileged truth to tell, and to witness instead the increasing sound of plurality of voices from divergence, with their insistence on cultural diversity, and the claims of heterogeneity over homogeneity. So before leaving Lyotard's, it is worth noting his own less than favorable response to the changed status of culture. The popular culture, contemporary general culture of the postmodern condition of is for Lyotard's on anything goes culture, a culture of slackening, where taste is irrelevant and the money the only sign of value. The only relief is Lyotard's view that postmodernist culture is not the end of the much superior culture of modernism, but the sign of the advent of a new modernism. Postmodernism is that which break with one modernism to form a new modernism. A work can become modern only if it is first modernized. Postmodernism, thus understood, is not modernism at its end, but it's the necessary state, and this state is constant. So we have here Jean Baudrillard. I mean Baudrillard. So according to Jean Baudrillard, He claims that we have reached a stage in social and economic development in which it is no longer possible to separate the economic or productive realm from the realms of ideology or culture. Since cultural artifacts, images, representatives, even feelings, and psychic structure have become part of the world economic. So we have also here Frederick Jameson. So Frederick Jameson is an American Marxist cultural critic who has written a number of very influential essays on postmodernism, where Jameson differs from other theorists in his insistence that postmodernism can best be theorized from within a Marxist or neo-Marxist framework. For Jameson, postmodernism is more than just a particular cultural style. It is above all a periodizing concept. Jameson argues that postmodernism is the cultural dominant of late or multinational capitalism. Modernism is the residual. It is unclear and what is the emergent. Postmodernism, postmodern pop music. For James, the difference between modernist and postmodernist pop music is quite clear. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones represent a modernist moment against which punk rock, The Clash, for example, and the new wave, Talking Heads, for example, can be seen as postmodernist. Andrew Goodwin has quite correctly pointed out that Jameson compressed time-span solution pop music culture's rapid progression through realism, rock and roll, modernism, postmodernism, enabling Jameson to establish a modernist moment against which to mark out a postmodernist response is a very difficult argument to sustain. So, postmodern television. So, television, like pop music, does not have a period of modernism to which it can be post. But as James Collins points out, television is often seen as the quintessence of postmodern culture. This claim can be made on the basis of the number of television's textual and contextual features. If, on the other hand, we take a positive view on the postmodernism, then the visual and verbal practices of television can be put forward, say, as the knowing play of intertextuality and radical eclecticism. Charles Sink in Collins, 1992, encouraging and helping to produce the sophisticated vernacular Collins 1992 of postmodern culture. So another divide within the approach television as postmodernism is between textual and economic analysis, instead of the semiotic sophistication of its and textual play and radical eclecticism. Television is condemned as hopeless commercial. Collins uses twin speak as a means of bringing together the different strands of the relationship between postmodernism and television. Twin speak is chosen because it epitomizes the multiple dimensions of televisual postmodernism. So, postmodernism and the pluralism of value. Postmodernism has disturbed many of the old sensibilities surrounding question of cultural value. In particular, it has problematized the question of why some texts are canonized, while others disappear without trace. That is, why only certain texts supposedly pass the test of time. There are a number of ways to answer this question. We have the global postmodern. So one way in which the world is said to be becoming postmodern in its increasing globalization, perhaps the dominant view of globalization, especially in discussions of globalization and culture, is to see it as a reduction of the world to an American accent. Wears Levi jeans and Wrangler shirts, drink Coca-Cola, eats at McDonald's, serves the net on a computer overflowing with Microsoft software, listen to rock or country music, watches a mixture of MTV and CNN, Hollywood movies, and reruns of Dallas, and then discusses the sophisticatedly named World Series while drinking a bottle of Budweiser and most smoking a Marlboro cigarette. So convergence culture. So another aspect of the postmodern is the convergence culture, where old and new media collide, where grassroots and corporate media intersect, where the power of the media producer and the power of the media consumer interact in an unpredictable way. Convergence involves the flow of media content across a range of different platforms. This is not simply a matter of new technologies but a process that requires the active participation of the consumers. So convergence culture is the result of three factors. The first one is the concentration of media ownership. Owning a range of different platforms encourages producers to distribute content across these different platforms. Second is the technological change. This has created a new range of platforms for media content. The third factor is to involve the consumers of media. That's end my discussion. Thank you for listening.